Welcome to SpellCast, the Gaming Wizards podcast.
Yeah, it's not been as long for one of these as it has for the other stuff.
Yeah, we've definitely done more spellcasts than anything else as of late.
Yeah.
But if all goes according to plan, that has changed by the time you're hearing this, because I usually post these on Wednesdays, don't I? So
Something like that.
yeah, so we'll have 3 episodes of Portal that have already gone up by the time you're hearing this.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're
Progress.
We're trying to come back.
Yeah.
I swear, this is like we've promised this before, and it hasn't happened yet. I will make damn sure it happens this time.
Something always seems to come up, like a schedule gets shifted around or what have you.
So, and it's just everything that's been going on the past couple of years anyway. Like everybody's schedule has been fucked up. So, yeah.
Yeah, I consider myself lucky in that I have been in a situation where I'm generally kind of free. I just have to try to work stuff around making sure I have time to stream and time to work on commissions and stuff. I should show you my Google Calendar. It's a nightmare.
Oh god.
But yeah, it'll be nice to kind of try to get this going again. Honestly, I also just enjoy recording spellcasts. We could record a spellcast every other week, and I'd be happy, even if we didn't get to do gameplay stuff.
Yeah,
but it is nice to get back to playing games.
Yeah, I mean, and we would have gotten back started on this several months ago if Dead Space 2 was being cooperative. But
yeah,
I'm pretty sure we mentioned in that spellcast that we recorded instead of Dead Space 2 why that wasn't happening.
Yeah, and then I went back later and I figured out what the issue was, which is just the most bizarre, why is this doing this kind of thing? For some reason, Dead Space 2 doesn't want to stay, the window doesn't want to stay up if my tablet is plugged in. But if I unplug my tablet from my computer, it runs fine.
And it's a screen tablet, so it's...
Yeah.
If that helps anybody visualize what's going on, so...
Yeah, I have my screen tablet for art and stuff, and for whatever reason, when it's plugged in, Dead Space 2 specifically will not run.
It just freaks out and doesn't know what monitor to go to or something. Yeah, no idea, but...
Yeah.
Someday we can play Dead Space 2 now that we know why that was happening.
Yeah, it means we'll actually be able to play through that one, potentially.
Maybe this next October we'll do it for Spooky Month.
It would be nice,
because that was the original plan.
Yeah,
but then
it would be nice if we do get this going kind of regularly again to ahead of time, before October actually hits, play through some different horror stuff so that we can just upload it all in October. Whether or not we could
do it in advance and have it ready to go. Yeah,
we could record more stuff in October of that same theme, but having it all ready to go so that we kind of know how much of it, Yeah,
I mean we've never really built up a backlog, even though the way we record is kind of designed intended to be able to build up. It's just that we don't record often enough to actually build it up. So we record a week's worth of episodes in a day, and then they go up over the next week, so then we have nothing if we don't record next week. So
yeah,
I mean, yeah, we're able to build up a backlog, but we just haven't been able to really we just don't record enough at a time to actually do that. We just record what we're going to upload the next week, and then we upload it, and then we record more the next week. Ideally, in an ideal situation, that wouldn't be a problem.
I do feel like kind of early on we did have a little bit of a backlog. Like we were usually like a little ahead of things.
Yeah.
But yeah,
when we were regularly recording, and then I ended up with like 7 episodes of Okami that were backlogged that I never got around to actually uploading, and I don't know if we talked about did I mention that in the last spellcast we did or not? I don't remember if I had actually posted them by then or not. I don't remember. I think I uploaded them and then we did a spellcast after. Yeah, okay. You got it up on the screen there.
Yeah.
So it was... I uploaded them and then it was a few months and then we did a spellcast. So yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It was longer ago than I thought, but yeah.
I mostly wanted to pull up the spellcast because like you usually put like a thing about whatever we kind of talked about throughout it.
Rough, broad summary points of things. Fiddle DD is okay sometimes.
I'm laughing about the definitely, absolutely 10,000% not Borderlands again. That was a lie.
Yeah. Well, and now we have an excuse to talk about Borderlands more.
I'll say, do we have anything...
We could have gone our first episode without even mentioning it.
No, never. It's tradition at this point. I was actually like wondering, like, is there actually anything new worth mentioning in Borderlands?
We're just the Borderlands podcast now.
The Bordercast.
Always were. We were always a Borderlands podcast, and sometimes we trail off onto other subjects. It's not the other way around where we talk about other stuff and trail off into Borderlands. No.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I don't think there's anything relevant to talk about for Borderlands. Like, I think since last time we recorded, I started one of the DLCs, but I didn't finish it. So like, there's not really a lot. Like, I did go back to the game and hit level cap, I think, since we last talked about it. But like, yeah, I haven't really delved as much into it as like I've been wanting to. Like, I wanted to get back and do all the DLCs, but yeah, it was January was the last time I played, so like it's been a bit.
Yeah. So nothing new on the Borderlands front. Cool. Moving on.
Yep, moving on. We got past Borderlands nice and quick.
Yeah. I do remember that I talked about the Horizon Forbidden West.
Oh, right.
Because I was in the middle of playing it, and I had some things that I was hoping would get better as I approached finishing the game. So, I
feel like we did talk about the ending at some point. But also the DLC came out. Have you gotten to play that?
I have not, and I will not be able to because it is PS5 exclusive.
Oh, is it? Oh, that's dumb. That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that sucks. But I did finish the game since that.
Yeah.
Wait, did I? Was it the episode before that I left off on talking about Horizon, or?
Like, part of me is like, I feel like we had done a spellcast where you were in the middle of it, and then like the most recent one was actually like after you had finished it, but I can't remember for certain because it's been a while.
I deleted an entire like spellcast from my memory then, because I could have sworn we left off with me talking about it, and then like I hadn't finished it yet, so we left it there.
See, I vaguely remember you talking about the ending and being kind of iffy on it. I could be wrong. I have enough people that I talked about these games with, right?
I mean, it did resolve like a lot of the plot points I was hoping didn't get left just like hanging there, because they kind of felt like they...
Yeah.
Horizon didn't have to been...
Yeah.
Okay, so that was 28. That was...
Yeah.
Last July. Okay, so I must have done it. Huh.
Yeah.
I just completely deleted a whole spellcast fucking from my memory. Like, I don't remember following up on it is the thing. Like,
yeah.
I guess we did?
I feel like we did. But I mean,
if there was an episode after this, then we must have, because I wouldn't have. I'm remembering it now, so I wouldn't have forgotten about it then. So okay, wow, okay.
Yeah, no, it's sometimes that happens, right?
Yeah, no kidding.
It's long enough between recordings that it's hard to remember. Like, okay, what did we talk about? Like in each of these,
like even with my vaguely unhelpful kind of summaries, it's like, yeah, we talked about this and this and this and this, but like,
yeah,
didn't
to what detail?
Yeah, it's like,
yeah, well, God,
like even the last one was like the most sparse that's ever been. Like there's like 5 things on there, and one of them's a joke.
Yeah. 5 things on there, and one of them's a joke.
This entire episode is going to be like, what the fuck did we talk about last time?
Right? Well,
what have we talked about, and what did we plan to talk about that we didn't get to? I don't fucking remember. Jesus Christ.
What can we talk about that isn't retreading what we've already talked about?
I mean, so that was last October. So we haven't even done one this year yet.
Nope, this is the first SpellCast of 2023.
What the fuck is time?
Dude, I don't know.
Oh
we're like...
God, I fucking hate time.
We're at, like, the end of April, and I was like, what do you mean we're at the end of April? What the fuck? Wasn't, like, yesterday February still? Time just, like, stopped being real to me, like, back in 2020. And, like, I have not recovered.
Yeah, no kidding. Like, fuck, man. Oh, God. Okay, well, I had things to say about Horizon, and apparently I already said them, so, what day? March 20th. Wow.
Today is March 1153rd, 2020.
Wow.
It's my favorite website.
We never got out of 2020, did we?
Nope.
We never got out of March.
Nope. I don't think I do anymore, but I used to keep this website open in a tab on my phone. Actually, it might still be open. Because I think it's this and then the Board Game Geek page that I keep open.
God. It's just one existential crisis after a fucking another.
Right?
Because, like, I was, like, I told you about, like, the whole crisis I had when I was going back and looking at, like, trying to figure out, like, when I started doing certain things. Like, I tried to figure out, fuck, I don't even remember. Like, I basically came to the conclusion that the most important years of my life were, like, 2003 to 2008. Because that was when I was active on BZ Power, a Bionicle fan forum.
Man.
And that was where I learned how to make sprite comics and pixel art in general, and just all kinds of things that are like central aspects of
where
my
you
being
are
right
today.
now.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I can trace pretty much everything I am today back to those like 5 years, and it was only like those 5 years.
I
like that's a
definitely
fucking era
similar
of my life.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what how could that have only been like 5 years? That's an insane amount of stuff that I remember going through, and it feels like an entire lifetime, and it was only like 5 years.
I mean, oh god, I'm trying to think of like what year it would be. It's in that same time frame, but there's like one specific summer where like it was 3-4 months, and like that like summer completely changed the course of my life and like how I view my relationships, and like so many things that like are part of who I am I can trace back to those, like that summer and those people in my life at that time. Like it's wild, like the little things that shape us, right? I mean, fuck, even where I am right now with my art, right? Like I've been taking commissions this year. That's been doing pretty well for me. I've been keeping myself very busy, but like I have done more art in this year, like in these first like couple of months between February to now, I've done more art in these like 3 months than I have in like the last 3 years combined.
Wow. Yeah.
And it's all in that stained glass style, which I first did as like part of a joke that I was working on for Final Fantasy thing back in like 2014. And like I've just kind of picked at and like messed with the style a little bit here and there over the years, and I just kind of finally like did something that found an audience and kind of caused enough spread for me to start taking commissions on that. Which, oh man, I definitely overpacked my workload this month specifically, and like I'm getting there. I have 2 more paid for pieces to finish up, and then I have like 1 on like the wait list. But yeah, that's been a hell of a thing. That all just kind of started off of like one random like idea, one random joke of like, hey, this would be funny.
Yeah. And I of course have like 85 fucking projects. It's like in various stages of, it's like from it would be a cool idea to do this thing to I have like logos designed and animation ideas and all this stuff for this project, and it's like, and I'm trying to make a fucking game that I keep putting off working on because I'm at the tedious part of working on it, where it's like, I want to do this, I want to finish this fucking project, but like,
yeah, sometimes you just gotta like, push yourself through those moments, though, I
need something to really spark a new surge of motivation to finally get the last few bits in there that I really need. I mean, it's really all I need to do is like make 40 fucking levels for this puzzle game and write and animate some simple cutscenes to go between like each, like, I don't know, 5 levels or whatever. And I know how to do that. Like, I know how I can make all of this work together. I just need to do it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do it as much as I want to do it.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that, though. Like, sometimes...
Because, I mean, even at... Like, I'm kind of at the point where I want to finish this project so I can do something else. Like, I want to finish this game so I can make another game using what I learned working on this game. But, like...
yeah.
It would be a completely different kind of game, even. It's just, like, some of the basic stuff, like figuring out how to make a save file system that, you know, works and actually saves a file to your computer, and
I mean, maybe it'll help
theoretically track achievements and stuff like that. Like,
yeah.
It's just like I'm so happy that I figured out all of that stuff while trying to make this project work, and I'm really happy with how it's come out. I don't know. I just don't like working on it. Like, I like having made things. I don't like making things.
Yeah, no, that's the struggle of like, I want this thing to exist, and I must make this thing exist. But the process of doing that myself is a pain. It's so much work. Curse you, working.
And I mean, even with like game development, it's like there is. You know, it's kind of like a puzzle in itself.
Sure.
Like you have to figure out like how to make things work, and it's really satisfying when you do finally figure out something, especially if it's like been giving you trouble.
Yeah.
But it's still a fucking pain in the ass.
Yeah, no,
like,
I get that.
Even to do like simple stuff, like a better developer could have made my game in like a week.
Sure, but like you're like, it's also like the first thing that you've really like tried to really finish, like, right? I would almost say it might be worth it to like, instead of looking at it as like you need to make 40 levels for this game, like just like do it in chunks, right? Be like, do 10 levels and then like maybe like shift your focus somewhere else, just like while the motivation isn't there, right? And then come back to it and do another 10 levels.
Yeah, because I mean, and I kind of have it divided into like they're like 5-level like segments or I guess chapters or whatever. So it would be really easy to just do like 5 at a time and like do 5 or 10 of them and then come back to it later. I just need to. I don't know, I just need to like something to spark that motivation again, and usually that comes in the form of something making me hate my job even more. Like,
valid.
I mean, that was the reason I started working on like trying to actually make a game, like a full game, and not just random experiments and figuring out like how to do, like, oh, I can do this little thing in Game Maker, but that's not a game, that's a character moving around, and maybe I can interact with an object or something. But but I wanted to make a full game because I fucking hate my job,
which is valid.
And yeah, like it was originally going to be like a completely different game. I just figured out how to do like some of the other stuff like along the way, because I was going to make a tower defense game because that's like simple and doesn't involve really directly controlling any characters. You just need to make like a bunch of guys move along a path and all that, and it's all about like proximity to things, and that's it seemed like something that should be easy to figure out in Game Maker. And it was like I had a basic like tower defense kind of setup. I didn't have towers, but I had like the enemy spawning thing and make them follow a path. But it was making them follow the path that was like, I could make a game like Choo Choo Rocket with these mechanics, because I didn't want to figure out like how Game Maker has like a built-in pathing thing that you can use, and I think I've messed with it before like a really long time ago, but I didn't feel like messing around with that, so I was like, I'll just make them run over an object and have them change direction when they hit that object. So, and that pretty much worked for, because, I mean, with a tower defense game, the level layout doesn't change, so.
Depending on the tower defense game.
Well, yeah, but in most cases, in the most basic ones, they follow a set path with each level. You have. They just go from point A to point B, and you don't have to even make them, like, interact with walls or anything. They just follow the path that you set. And I was like. And I had a little arrow object that was invisible when you played the game, but you could see it like in the editor and all that, so for development purposes. And I was like, I'll just make that blue because it's like the Choo Choo Rocket arrows. It's like the exact same purpose of them. And then I thought,
why am I not just making?
Why don't I just make a Choo Choo Rocket game? And that turned out to be extremely helpful because, like, just in the sense of like making a game, because you can make the mechanics like basically one at a time. Like you figure out one thing and then you can move on to the next thing and then the next thing and the next thing. So it's like first enemies, or not enemies, but like the characters go over the object and change direction based on where it's pointing. And I figured that out pretty easily, actually. That was like the first thing I did. And then it's like, okay, so they hit a wall and they turn one of either directions depending on what's available. That turned out to be a pain in the ass. But luckily somebody on the Game Maker subreddit was able to help me, figure out some relatively simple code. I just needed more variables, basically. Like, I kind of had it in my head that you don't want to add too many variables because it just makes your code unnecessarily complex, but you can also have the problem of not having enough, so...
Definitely a balance to strike there.
It turned out that I just needed to make more variables to have them check more things when they hit the wall, and they would turn the right direction depending on where they could turn. So and then I had stuff like the teleporter was a really big thing because that opened a lot of doors. Because I can use the mechanics I said for that. A while ago, I was trying to make like a platformer game where it's like actually it's just basically a basic puzzle. I am.
Take a drink. Figure out your words.
I took my Adderall this morning. Okay, it was a basic I showed you like an animation of it. I think so. It was like trying to make a button open door.
Sure.
So you find one button, you push the button, and a door somewhere else opens. And I was trying to figure out how to make a system where one button would control one door, one button would control another door, and that was where I was ending up having trouble because I couldn't figure out how to really make them match up. But figuring out how to make the teleporters in my current game work was basically like what I was trying to figure out then.
Sure.
So now that I've got this teleporter system working, I could use it to potentially make that door system work. So
right.
So yeah, that was a big leap in terms of, you know, figuring out stuff to do in Game Maker that could apply to other games. And yeah, I did finally figure out how to make a text system work too, which was another big thing that I was having a lot of trouble with. I could make basically one text box worth of text appear, and that would be it.
Right.
What I needed to figure out was how to clear that text box and display more text because, you know, characters may potentially have more than one text box worth of things to say.
Sure. I remember that being something that, like, we always had to, like, work around and try to struggle with, like, even when we first were messing with Game Maker.
Right, yeah. Like, it was that
was always something that was, like,
sticking point.
Hard to mess with, yeah.
And honestly, I'm not even sure, like, the current system I have worked out would
be like the ideal system.
Would be the ideal one thing to use for a bigger game, like a Metroidvania with a bunch of characters to interact and, you know, story based progression. Like they say certain things depending on like what conditions are set in the game. I mean, I guess it could work, but I would need to do a lot more like experimenting with it. Basically, you can make like old Nintendo style cutscenes with what I have.
Sure.
So it's like the characters on the screen, there's text, you scroll through the text, and, you know, it plays the animation or whatever, and that's basically it. I don't know how well it would work as far as, like, showing dialogue in-game. Like, you talk to a character and the text box appears and all that.
Okay.
It maybe could work. Like I said, I'd have to experiment around with that dumb little robot game I was kind of playing around with. And maybe I'll finish that one someday too, but...
Yeah, one thing at a time, right?
Yeah,
like,
one thing at a time.
Get something finished and shipped, and then you can start iterating and making better things, right?
That was the one rule that I set myself when I started trying to actually make this game. And was that I would finish it before starting any other game projects or working on any other game projects or doing anything involving anything that's not related to this particular game project. And I pretty much stuck to that. Like I did randomly just kind of open up Game Maker and start messing around with like I don't know why I decided to randomly do that, but I wanted to make like the ricochet bullets like we were talking about for Gun Wizard.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I kind of figured that out a little bit. Like, it was buggy as hell, but it mostly worked.
God.
But yeah, I don't know why I randomly wanted to do that, but I did. So
yeah. Sometimes that random motivation just strikes.
I was like, maybe it was because I might have been like looking through the Dropbox and I saw like because we took a picture of like the board with the math that we had worked out for it, and I was like,
yeah,
I might have just been randomly looking at that and saw that, and I was like, I could totally do that in Game Maker because I know how like the angle system works and all that because I've been messing around with that, and I guess I just randomly decided to do that. So whatever.
Yeah, no, that's God.
It would still need a lot of work, but basically it works.
That's one of those project ideas that we've had that is just like, it's so much bigger than what we are capable of like reasonably doing right now,
and it's already the scaled back version of what we want to do.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things where we started trying to come up with something that would be scaled back and easier, and then it kind of got out of our control.
Like it's
which happens.
Like this is the less complex version that we were supposed to be able to actually do.
Yeah, well, I mean...
like, compared to the other ideas that we had that we wanted to do.
I'll say, to be fair...
Like, we want to make a full, Final Fantasy level RPG.
Yeah, it's still less than a full-ass Final Fantasy.
We can't really do that. Why don't we try Metroidvania? Sure, that sounds easy.
Well, it was, why don't we try, like, a platformer? And we're like, why doesn't it be a Metroidvania? Because we both really like Metroidvania. And it just kept going from there.
And the market hasn't been completely oversaturated with Metroidvanias or anything.
Well, now it has.
Since we first, put the ideas out there.
God, when did we first have that idea? Like 2014? 2015? Something like that? Like, it was way back.
It was. I'm thinking maybe even earlier than that, like maybe 2012. Like
it could be.
I don't even know where I can check.
I could probably check on like file dates on some of the stuff I have.
Yeah, maybe something on Dropbox, but
yeah, something on Dropbox or even just something else on my computer that's like related.
Yeah. Like maybe that really old was like that coding checklist, like one of the first things we made for it. 'Cause it was basically just like listing out everything we would need to figure out how to code.
I mean, that definitely would be one of the older things. I was thinking even just like some of the sketches, like the first character sketches I did. To what it's worth, though, like
it was like 2013 to 2014.
Yeah, for sure. But, like, for what it's worth, like, all that work we put into that, like, has paid off in a way. Because, like, we had a lot of, like, world building and character building concepts that went into that I have since used for D&D, right? So like, that has become kind of one of the central inspirations for the campaign that I run on Saturdays for that group. And it was one of those things where, like, it wasn't necessarily on purpose at first to, like, delve so deep into, like, using the ideas from Gun Wizard. But once that idea clicked of, like, what if I put this in there, like, now everything kind of spirals back down to, like, that being, like, the main plot of that campaign. Like, and through doing that extra work on that, like, it's created this kind of like backwards feedback loop of, like, okay, now that it's in my D&D world, like, okay, well, like, how am I setting this up? How am I introducing this? And it's like, well, what impact does this city's existence have on the world around it?
Right, yeah.
So, like, one of the ideas that ended up getting utilized in the campaign is, like, when they finally made it to Valdale, and they see this city with this huge tower sticking up, like, above the walls, as they're approaching it, there is, like, essentially, like, this, like, no man's land of just, like, barren wasteland between the edge of the forest where, like, the Fey folk live and the walls of this city. And because it's like, okay, because even in, like, the original Gun Wizard design, like, we had this whole, like, kind of technology versus magic theming to it.
Right.
But then, like, also, like, one of the first areas we came up with was, like, okay, like, there's, like, the forest that's, like, just outside of the city, and there's, like the fairies are there and shit. Like, we had the tutorial fairy joke. But, like,
that was probably, like, the first.
Yeah, that was, like the first.
One of the first things we.
One of our first ideas, for sure.
One of the first, like, story concepts, character ideas, like, besides the main character being a wizard with a gun.
Yeah. But, like, by putting this into the D&D world and trying to, like, actually world build around it as being, like, a functional place, it raised this question of, like, well, if there's this whole, like, technology versus magic thing going on, and this city is right there next to this forest of Fey folk, there's probably some kind of conflict going on there.
Yeah.
And so, like, I worked out some details onto that of, like, okay, well, like, if the city's here, maybe there's, like a buffer zone, kind of like a no man's land that, like, basically they had cleared out part of the forest around, like, immediately around the city, and then essentially, like, salted the earth with, like, steel deposits to keep the Fey folk from being able to cross that, like, line. And so it kind of creates this, like, interesting visual of, like, you just have this huge, like, gray wall, like, and there's, like, you just, like, come out of, like, this magical forest into just no man's land and big wall with towers sticking up above it. And then I got to kind of flesh out some ideas I had for the town, and did, like, the splash art that I used for, like, when they got there. Which is something that I want to do more for the Thursday campaign as well, of, like, having these things that, like, I can physically, like, show you guys of, like, okay, you got to this thing and here's this thing now. It's just been a little harder with that campaign just because of, like, where things are right now.
Yeah.
You guys are definitely in, like, a weird spot, and, like, I've also had to kind of, like, expedite some, like, aspects of things because of, like, how stuff has happened, where it's like, okay, well, now that this has shifted, I have to, like originally you guys were going to go into that dungeon that was, like, the scrapyard,
Right.
and then there was basically 2 boss fights down there, right? And the idea was you would do maybe one of them and then come back for the other kind of thing.
Or we could just not.
Well, and yeah, that was the thing, is, like, so, like, if you had done those 2 boss fights, there would have been a chance to rest between, and you would have leveled up before, and, like, there would have been other stuff you would have done to make more money before you guys ended up in the dungeon you're in now, which was, like, that was a planned thing that was supposed to come later, but it's like, okay, this has had to been, like, pushed forward because, like, things need to happen here, like, while you are still in this location.
We sequence broke.
Yeah, a little bit. But the fact that you guys didn't get, like, a rest between and didn't get that, like, level up between makes it a little, like, rougher. And there are some things where I've, like, realized, like, some of these encounters are pretty rough. The arcade mimics weren't too bad. Those went okay. That was definitely the most simple combat. Like, I kind of designed everything to have something that can be, like, kind of messed with in the room. But, like, so, like, just, like, an example of something that was, like, it had an intention, and then it just, like, kind of didn't happen this way. But essentially, when you guys entered that first room, the one with the cannon in the middle,
right?
If you had noticed, that room was kind of, like, split off into, like, 4 quadrants.
Yeah.
So the idea is that the cannon shoots at intruders wherever there is the most intruders into the room, based, like, in a cone based on those sections, right? And the idea was you guys could have gone through that, and, like, you had enough time where if you had stayed in the room, you could figure out both how it functions, and, like, you could, like, one, you could disable it very easily, and then you could figure out how it functions, and then in the next room, there was actually supposed to be an entire combat that happened, like, almost immediately after entering that room, but because you guys had kind of, like, rushed through the first room, and then, like, the party was split between rooms, I ended up cutting that combat out. But the idea was, like, well, like, one, the room was full of sand, and there are things you can do with that.
Right.
But also there was the idea of, like, you could lure the enemies into the room with the cannon and take advantage of the cannon's mechanics of, like, pointing towards the segment of the room that has the most people to have it take out the enemies for you. So it's like I had built in these ideas that then just kind of didn't happen because of the way you guys were like, all right, time to speed run, open all the doors. I was like, oh god, no, this is bad.
Okay, there's a fucking gun that's shooting anything in this room. Just, get to the door.
Yeah. Well, you guys had a full minute to, like, full 10 rounds to, like, figure this thing out. Like, there was definitely not a rush to it, but is what it is.
It just didn't seem like a good idea to stay in the room with the rotating cannon that shoots at us. So
yeah, no, and it does a lot of damage, to be fair. The thing does, like, a shit ton of damage. It's not the only cannon like that in the dungeon. But, yeah. It's definitely one of those things where I had to, like, try to figure out, like, how to slow you guys a little bit, because if you guys had just continually just gone through and opened all the doors you could, the combat you guys would be in right now would be, like, way, way too much. But, like, it's definitely a combat-heavy dungeon if you approach it in, like, just a straight brute force kind of method. But if you kind of, like, look around and mess with stuff, there's like, other things that you can find and interact with. And then there's some rooms that are just kind of there to be, like, funny. Like, there's a room that just has, like, a board game table in it. And, like, I think, I'm trying to remember, I think it was specifically, like, I had written that, like, it was a half-finished game of Tanto Core, which is a deck builder card game about collecting maids.
Okay.
Yeah. Just, I like my dumb nonsense, basically. But yeah, like,
that campaign is part of the appeal of the campaign.
Yeah. And that campaign is definitely in, like, a weird position, like, where it currently is story-wise and, like, where I need it to go. And I have an idea of where I'm going to take things and how I'm going to get you guys there, but it's definitely, like, it's in a weird spot right now. So it's hard to, like, have that, like, extra stuff prepped just because of where you are right now. Whereas the other campaign is very grounded, like, this is the country they're in, and, like, these are the major cities, and these are the things that are specifically in those cities. And so it's just kind of like, okay, where are you guys going? Oh, you guys went to the town that worships a newt? Okay. Well, specifically it was written as all their political decisions are made by a newt. Everything is... Basically, someone is elected as the interpreter of the newt and has to, like, basically, like, they decide what the newt says. It's just a regular newt that lives in a statue that may have been made by Shad and may be built on top of the Fountain of Youth. Course. So the statue is... So, like, the newt is actually thousands of years old and is actually, like, knows a lot of shit about the world. One of them, I didn't realize anyone in the party had this ability.
Talk to animals?
Yeah, someone used Speak with Animals. It was the Barbarian. They had a thing that lets them ritual cast Speak with Animals. So, like, it takes a while to set up, but, like...
Tell me your secrets, newt.
They got, like, some major, like, kind of world building and lore dumps because they started asking this thousands of years old newt questions. But yeah, it was one of those things where when I was setting up the town, I was like, okay, there'll be, like, a big statue in the middle, and I was like, what if the statue was made by Shad? So it's, like, this big jade statue of, like, a newt sitting on a rock, and, like, it is specifically built over this, like, small source of water that the newt was living in that is basically the Fountain of Youth, so this newt is essentially immortal, which is why Shad became friends with it, because it is a thing that lives long enough to be relevant to him.
Nice.
And it's just Shot has been a fun character to just like incorporate into the world, because we spent so much time at the shop, like while doing inventory or just kind of like doing regular shop stuff, where we would just talk D&D, and so there was a lot of time to like figure out like who Shot is, what his motivations are, what his impact on the world is, and like why he be like that. Yeah. So there are definitely just like little things that were planned of like, yeah, you can go to an inn and sometimes they'll be like, oh yeah, my great 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 grandfather received this like figurine for the inn, and it's like made out of like a diamond. And it's just all the places Shot has stayed over the years that somehow are still standing. It's one of those things with like fantasy worlds that have like these like weirdly long histories, is like, how do places stay standing? How has technology not gone past a certain point? Like that's always like a question with like fantasy worlds with like thousands of years long histories.
Yeah, I think we've even talked about that before.
Probably.
Like Lord of the Rings especially, like they specify that it's like, it has been 1,000 years since blah blah blah, and I was there when this happened, and it's like, so sentient life has existed in this world for tens of thousands of years, and we're still on like horse-drawn carriages, bows and arrows, swords.
Yeah,
some magic, but I mean,
we're still in the Bronze Age.
Like the closest thing we've seen to any kind of industrialization is like Saruman tearing up the forest and building his army.
Yeah,
it's like, okay.
It's like,
I mean, nobody thought to wonder what all that lightning actually is. Maybe you could do something with that. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
harness that energy, and
it's why I appreciate like things that kind of set up like, it's a fantasy world, but then like you dig deeper and it's like, it's a fantasy world or like a low-tech world because it used to be a high-tech world and something happened.
That's always fun too.
Final Fantasy Tactics does that, actually.
Oh, really?
So like the original Tactics is a very like medieval setting.
Right.
But kind of as you delve deeper, and if like you actually pay attention to like the lore of like the artifacts you find and stuff, there's like this implication of like, oh, there used to be airships and stuff, but like there's not anymore. And Final Fantasy 12, which also takes place in Ivalice, is actually a prequel to Tactics.
Oh, yeah.
Huh. Like, so there's like this really weird timeline to like the like world of Ivalice, where it's like the original Final Fantasy Tactics is actually like over here, and like 12 is like way back here.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and there's like some implication of the world basically got nuked back to the Dark Ages.
I love when shit like that happens. Like, especially when it's like a surprise, like it seems like it comes out of nowhere, but then you think about it and it's like, huh.
Yeah, it's like, okay,
that does make sense actually.
Yeah, definitely.
Like if it's in a show and you like rewatch the show and suddenly it's like, oh, that's a thing. Okay. And you just, like,
on the flip side of that, or maybe not really flip side, but just like in that same genre of like fantasy worlds, and like technology weirdly not progressing. I recently rewatched the movie Flight of Dragons, which I haven't watched in ages. Like, I was young enough that I barely remembered anything about the movie other than it has dragons in it. Like, that's how long ago it was last time I watched this. It's that same era as like the animated Hobbit. same animation studio and everything too.
Oh yeah.
But it actually kind of addresses that, where like the initial premise that it like introduces the world with is like you meet one of the wizards. Like there's basically like these 4 wizard brothers that control like all aspects of magic and like kind of, I don't want to say run the world really, but like, because like they answer to antiquity, which is just like the all-seeing force of the world's existence, right? But like each one kind of has like their own like domain, and then of course there's like the one that's like the evil wizard, because there has to be evil magic in the world,
Of course.
But like one of the first scenes is the green wizard kind of like showing up and to I think it was like some dwarves or something, but like, or it might have just been man, but like they had this water wheel, and they were like harnessing the power of nature, and like he's like kind of showing up to be like, you have to respect like magic and respect the world, and like they just kind of make fun of him, and then like he goes to like cast magic to like destroy their water wheel, and like the spell just kind of like fizzles. And it's like because he's losing his magic, because like technology and like stuff is like catching up with the world of magic, and like so belief in magic is getting weaker. And the whole premise is that like he decides that like he needs to like get together this meeting with his brothers, and that like they all need to get together and basically create like the last vestige of magic, like a separated part of the world where magic can continue to exist, so that it doesn't completely disappear and like the world can keep functioning. And of course like the evil brother is like, no, because he's fine with like the rest of magic dying, because like he can still take advantage of humanity. And so it is decided that like a quest must be conducted to like retrieve his crown and like take his powers and stuff. And like the green wizard goes to like ask antiquity like who should be like the leader of this quest, who's like the hero that will save the world. And it like basically gives him like this future vision of like this guy in like basically like 80s New York who like wants to like it's like cuts to the scene of like he's in this pawn shop and he's like trying to sell stuff, but it like also has this like board game he's making that like to try to like about dragons basically, and like all the game pieces are like the wizards and stuff, and it's like, oh, there's this guy from the far future who like knows what we look like. He has one foot in the modern age and one in the age of magic. And he doesn't know it. So like he takes this guy, brings him back in time to like the age of magic to like lead the quest. But like he's a nerd. He's like a science nerd, right? And so there's like a mishap very early on where he gets stuck in the body of one of the dragons. And so they like go through all this effort to explain the science of how dragons work.
Oh wow.
And it's like it touches so much on that like evolution of science versus like the existence of magic in such a good way that like makes a lot of sense in the world building. And it's just like, man, this came out in the 80s. This is so much better than so many other things that like try this kind of like explain how dragons work stuff.
Yeah, no kidding. If they even bother at all to try and explain. It's just like, it's magic. I don't gotta explain shit.
It's magic. I don't have to explain stuff. Thousands of years passed. Technology hasn't moved. Why would technology move? That's not as fun. Yeah.
I mean, sometimes just it's magic. I don't gotta explain shit can be just as much fun, but...
Yeah. I do feel like there needs to be some explanation, though, if you like have thousands of years of history of, well, why hasn't technology moved?
Yeah.
I like it's something that touches on that I like the way it addresses that question.
Yeah.
But I just kind of generally love like that era of animation. I think there's just like a lot of things that are very good that were made in that time frame. And kind of like led by that same, like those same like studios and stuff. It was, I want to say it was Rankin and Bass. That sounds right. Something like that.
Is it like stop motion claymation kind of looking?
No. Like it's because it was a company that did a lot of like TV shows and animated movies and stuff in the era,
right?
And like they were like it was like the main company behind them, but then like they outsourced a lot of the animation to a Japanese company. And when that Japanese company went bankrupt and went away, the company was bought up by like I think there was like 3 people that were like part of the company that or like knew about it or whatever that like bought it up, and that company became Studio Ghibli.
Oh, huh.
Like The Hobbit is technically a Ghibli film.
Wow. That's
yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's like one of my favorite like little like bits of animation history. But like they did The Hobbit, The Last Unicorn, Flight of Dragons, the first season of Thundercats, because after the first season they had was after they had gone bankrupt. So it was only the first season of Thundercats that like they owned. Silverhawks.
Right, I remember Silverhawks.
I very vaguely remember Silverhawks. It was one of those ones that I like rented.
It was on Toonami, I think, for like
that's weird.
Brief period, and I don't know why I remember watching it. I'm like, this is just Thundercats in space. Like they even have the bad guy doing like the same like transformation sequence, and he has the thing that he always says every episode when he transforms. It's like, this is Thundercats in space. It's kind of cool and all, but I don't know. I didn't really get into it.
Spirits of evil.
Yeah, I watched a few episodes and I was like, okay, it's all right. I don't hate it, but you know, I wouldn't watch it. Like I wouldn't watch it on purpose. Like I would watch it if it happened to be on, because it was, you know,
sure.
Like it wasn't like offensive or anything. It was just like yeah, I'm not into it, but I would watch it if it was on.
Yeah, like it was one of those ones that I remember renting from Blockbuster, and I don't remember watching it other than that. I remember watching a lot of Thundercats. I remember that coming on TV like in the mornings before school. Transformers was another one where like I rented it a lot as far as like the series goes, and then I of course watched the movie like enough times that it's burned into my memory. I rewatched it recently, and like it was while I was like working on making dinner, so it was like it was on the TV in the other room, and I'm in the kitchen doing stuff, and like I would like walk out of the room and I'd be like saying the lines like while I'm in here, and I like can't hear the TV, and then I'd come back into the kitchen. I was like, maybe I've watched this movie a few too many times in my life. That's what I do though, and I just love something, is I just consume it over and over again.
Yeah.
Been just a lot of anime I've been wanting to rewatch that like I've been kind of doing that with, where like I'll kind of watch a couple episodes here and there.
I've finally like caved and started a Crunchyroll subscription so I could watch some things, because I thought Attack on Titan was finally over, so I wanted to.
You fool!
I was apparently mistaken again, because the last time I watched it was because I thought it was over and I wanted to get caught up. Turned out there was like still a whole season still to come. So yeah, and like I was I was trying to watch it on Kiss Anime, and their servers fucking suck now. So it was like buffering every couple of minutes, and no matter what I did, it just would not play smoothly. And I was like, fuck it, I'll just pay a few bucks a month for Crunchyroll, and plus I can watch a bunch of other stuff. So so I'm caught up on Attack on Titan, still waiting for the final episode, which I thought was out, which is apparently not yet. So yeah,
nah, the final episode won't be out until the final season, part 2, section 3.
I think it's supposed to be out in like June, like the dub. The sub version is out, I think, but I don't watch the subs if I can help it. Like I try not to. Like it's just but yeah. So to
preaching to the choir, man.
So just to keep taking advantage of my Crunchyroll subscription, I started watching My Hero Academia, and I like it.
It's all right.
I don't know why I put off watching it. I guess I thought it was one of those ones that had been going on for too long. Like One Piece and
I'll say
all
like
those.
Anything that's made by Shonen. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I guess I thought it was maybe too late to start getting into it, but I was like, what the hell? I'll start watching it, and yeah, it's really good. So
I need to get back to because Mary has a Crunchyroll, and so like I can pull it up on the PlayStation whenever. And there's a lot of stuff that I want to watch on it that I just like we started watching some stuff and then just kind of stopped watching stuff for a while. Like we watched Skate the Infinity, which is such a good show. One season, quick to get through. Just like 12 episodes done. Fantastic show. Has one of my favorite villains just for how extra he is. Basically what I'm trying to remember the way Adam was described specifically that made me be like, all right, maybe I will give this a chance because I hear it's good and this guy sounds like a fucking riot. It was like if you combined Dio from JoJo, Hisoka from Hunter x Hunter, and someone else. I forget who the third one was, but I was like, that's already a wild fucking combination. Yeah, it's about underground skateboarding.
Huh.
It's fucking cool. But yeah, I had this whole list of stuff that I wanted to watch on there, and there's stuff that I want to get back to because new seasons have come out since I last watched them. There's season 3 of Mob Psycho, which as far as I understand it, I think is supposed to be done. So I really need to get around to watching that. There's another season of Made in Abyss, which I don't know if I am emotionally prepared for. I'm gonna be honest. That show has done things to me.
I didn't know that was out yet. Or maybe I did and I forgot. I don't know.
Yeah,
I should add that to my list though, because I had a bunch of stuff on there.
Season 2 came out late last year or something. So
relatively recently.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just went and put a bunch of stuff on the list because I'll watch it eventually. Dr. Stone was one that sounded interesting. I think I put Hunter x Hunter on there just because
it's one of those longer running ones that's kind of considered classic shonen.
Maybe I'll put that one off for a little while, but
I've seen a couple episodes of Hunter x Hunter, and
Chainsaw Man was another one that I put on there because
that's
one of those ones that everybody's been talking about.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, maybe I'll see what the deal is. But
it was one of those ones that before it came out, there were people talking about how this is going to be the next big thing in anime.
Chainsaw Man?
Yeah.
Huh.
Because the manga is huge.
Oh.
It's one of the most popular manga in Japan. So when it was announced an anime adaptation was happening, a lot of people were looking at it and this is going to be the next big thing that is going to change the landscape of anime in the same way that Attack on Titan did.
Huh.
Which honestly, I hope that it like continues to live up to that. I've heard nothing but good stuff about it so far. Mary's very like obsessed with Chainsaw Man. I need to get around to watching it. Like, she's already watched it all. I need to get to it.
I'm about halfway through My Hero Academia, so maybe I'll move on to that one while I wait for Attack on Titan to finally actually end.
Finally actually end?
Yeah. Like,
the final season. Again.
I could have, like, there were so many times I could have sworn I was, like, hearing that it had ended, and I guess it was just that season, but for some reason I thought, like, oh, it's over. I can watch the whole thing from beginning to end now, and it's like, oh, there's, like, still...
It should have ended, like, 3 times. That's like, the understanding I've had, is that, like, they were like, this is the final season, and then they were like, yeah, but wait, if we, like, kind of change the ending and like drag this out and like move the story in like this other direction, we can keep going. And like they basically just kept doing that. So like 3 seasons ago they called it the final season.
That's well, that might be why I was kind of confused about that then, because it's like, oh cool, they're explaining like where the Titans came from, and then there's like a flashback to all this stuff that, like, Aaron's dad wanted to tell him and all that. And then, like, it's like, oh, but this would be a weird place to end the season. There must be more episodes on the way. And it turns out I was, like... The first time I was watching through it, I got to, like, the end of... Or almost to the end of... Like, I think it was, like, season 3 or something like that. Because, you know, it was at that point where they were explaining, like, all the stuff about the Titans and all that, and then I figured there couldn't be that much more to go, but at that point I was caught up to like when the episodes were releasing, so I would have to wait for them to go up on Kiss Anime, and I would forget, and then you know, by the time it was time to watch one of them, there would be like 3 more up, and I was like, oh, it's still, not only is it not over, it is still going. So it's like, I'll just wait and, you know, wait for the season to end, and then I'll watch the rest of them. And it turned out, you know, that was when I got the Crunchyroll, and I was like, cool, I can finally watch Attack on Titan from beginning to end. So there was an entire new season, and that one's not done yet.
Yep. Sounds about right.
But it should be. When the last episode finally comes out, that is supposed to be the end of it.
We'll see. We'll see if third time's the charm.
I mean, they can. It'll be the end of the main story, because I mean, it is building up to that. It is definitely going to be the the end point of that story. Like, they might, you know,
you never
have
know.
Something that goes.
They might pull something out of their ass.
I don't know if that's. I mean, considering where it's going and what it's building up to, it does seem like it has quite a lot to resolve in one final episode, but I mean, I don't know. I think it can be done, and I have no doubt that there will be like side stories and spin-offs and things, because, you know, they're gonna get everything they can out of it, but
it's one of those things where they just want to milk it. That's all they want to do. That's all they've been trying to do, and it's unfortunately succeeding.
But like as far as the main story, that you know, like the characters, like where they started, this is where they're going, this is how they got there. You know, it feels like it's coming to an end for that, at least. So.
Well, I hope it's a good ending. I hope next time this topic comes up, if we bring it up again, that it has had a satisfying conclusion.
I mean, I don't know, but it will be a conclusion.
Yeah.
So, you know, there'll be hype for it, and I mean, people have already seen it. People who don't care if it's like subtitled or whatever, but yeah. I think it's supposed to actually end, so. Yeah.
I don't know if I trust it, but I I got maybe.
I really don't think it's one of those stories that has the capability to go on for like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of episodes, like One Piece and all them do. It's like it started with a bunch of mysteries, and over the course of the story, it has answered the vast majority of the questions you've had, and it seems like it's working towards an end.
Sure.
Like it doesn't seem like they plan to make it go on for too much longer.
Yeah, I remember when they first announced the final season, and then people being really upset that it wasn't actually the final season, and that they were like, "Just kidding, cliffhanger ending. There's gonna be another season." It's like, then why'd you call this one the final season? And then that came out, and they're like, "This is actually final season part 1."
Yeah,
and we still need to release final season part 2. And it's like, okay, stop, please. I don't really care much for the show. I tried it. It didn't click for me. But I tend to stick to stuff that, like, finishes in, like, a season or 2, usually.
Yeah. Like, I didn't want to watch, like, Dragon Ball Super because I knew it was, like, several hundred episodes, like, a couple hundred episodes. But... And also the fact that I started watching it, like, a while ago, and it turned out it was just, like, an expanded adaptation of the Battle of Gods movie. And I'd already seen that, and I was like, I don't want to watch this if it's just going to be an adaptation of the movie I've already seen.
Sure.
And I was like, should I just skip to, like, the next story arc? When is that? Like, what is... And I just kind of gave up, but then a little while ago I started watching it again, because it had been a while since I'd even seen the movies, so I was like,
sure.
Yeah, I'll just watch through all of this, and yeah, I didn't have any trouble just sitting down and watching, like, 7 or 8 episodes in one go, and before I knew it, it was over.
Yup. Hey, sometimes.
Apparently the manga is still going, but, like, the anime just had an ending. Like, it...
What?
Like, yeah, I was like, are they gonna... The manga's still going, are they gonna keep the anime going after this? But, I mean, like, this was very much, like, a big send-off kind of ending for, like, all the characters and all that, like... So I'm like, huh, so there's still more to come from the manga, but they're not gonna animate it? Or maybe they will later? I don't know, but...
They'll call it, like, something else. It's Dragon Ball Super 2.
Yeah, I don't know. Dragon Ball Super GT.
Oh, no. GT gets a bad rap. I didn't mind GT too much.
Some good ideas. I don't know, like...
I didn't see very far into it.
Yeah.
But, like, I didn't mind it much. I don't know.
Yeah, I also didn't get all that far into it, but I did watch, like, a kind of, like, retrospective or whatever, like somebody basically, like, summarized, like, where all the major arcs go and all that. It's like, there's some really good ideas in there, but I can see why people didn't really like this all that much. Just...
I at least liked the, like, initial premise of, like, by bringing back, like, the original villains of Dragon Ball, and then having, like, Goku get turned into a kid again. Like, I liked that initial premise of, like, kind of going back to the more lighthearted, comedy-centric aspects of the original Dragon Ball. And I don't know how much...
goes completely...
Yeah, I was say, like... I don't know how much it stays on that track. I'm sure it doesn't.
It does not.
But I love how it starts. Yeah. And, like, I'll leave it at that.
I mean, I guess it doesn't really get, like, unusually dark, like, as far as, like, Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z and all them go. Like, it doesn't get, like, that bad, really, but it does kind of just...
It goes full Z.
Yeah. It stays Z, kind of, so...
Yeah.
But, like, there were some, like, plot points that I thought were interesting ideas to, like, for that story to explore could have been better executed.
That's
Like the idea of the Dragon Balls just, like, breaking and releasing all this evil energy because they've been used too many times. Because, like, I guess the idea is that with every wish, they build up a certain amount of negative energy. And if you use them, like, too many times, they start to crack, and then an evil dragon comes out and, you know, starts fucking shit up. And I don't remember how they quite resolved it, but basically the idea was the Dragon Balls were meant to take a long time to find, and, you know...
And you guys developed a radar
Yeah,
for it.
so basically, like from them using them so many times in such a short time span, they didn't give, like, the negative energy or whatever time to, like... Dissipate, yeah.
Didn't have enough time for its half-life.
Yeah, basically. So eventually, like, they start to crack, and like 7 evil dragons come out and start fucking shit up, and they have to fight them all, and Goku goes Super Saiyan 4. And yeah, that was another thing, like, I'm pretty sure people were kind of annoyed about. It's like, oh, another Super Saiyan form, really? You don't say.
Yeah.
Like, and Super isn't really much better about it either.
Yeah.
Like,
that's just kind of like the Dragon Ball Z problem, is like,
yeah, it's like,
in order for a new villain to be a new threat, they have to be stronger than where the, like, heroes left off last time. And in order for the heroes to get up to that same level as the new threat to be able to beat them by the end, they need to have a new level of power. And so it's just this never-ending spiral
like,
of... yeah.
Like, remember when destroying a planet was, like, a big deal? Like, remember when Frieza was a super evil, very powerful, horrifyingly terrible person, and he could blow up a planet just by pointing his finger at it? Yeah, like, every villain ever since him has been able to do that, and...
Yeah.
Like... And, yeah, like I said, Dragon Ball Super is not any better. I mean, at least as far as, like, the God characters go, they make a point of saying, it's like, these God characters are so completely beyond, like, Goku and all of them's levels that it's, like, not even a thing. Like, the only way Goku can compete with him is to basically use God power. And they establish why he can't do that just on a whim. It has to be this whole thing. They have to set up all this stuff. You know, it's not just that it does kind of come out of nowhere, but they can't do it, like, all the time.
Sure.
You know, it's like, it's not like going Super Saiyan where it's like, now he just has this power and he can always use it. So but then they have, like, Super Saiyan Blue, which is basically God's Super Saiyan, but not really, but they needed him to be more powerful, so they established that he couldn't do the God Super Saiyan, so it's like, okay, just, you know, new Super Saiyan form, whatever.
This one's blue.
This one's blue. And then
does he have a Metroid attached to him?
And then evil Goku shows up, and he's like, yeah, I got Super Saiyan Pink. What of it, bitches? And we're just like, what? How? What? Why is that even a thing? Like, is it because he's evil? Is that just the evil version of the blue Super Saiyan, or is this a level beyond that, or what the fuck?
I love how you say that, and, like, it comes off as a joke, but I know you're serious that, like, this is actually a thing, but it comes off as a joke.
There's an evil Goku, and his big thing is that he has, like, a new level of Super Saiyan. It's literally Super Saiyan Rose, but it's Super Saiyan Pink.
What's next? Super Saiyan Cactus? Now the spikes go in different directions.
No.
Oh my god.
And then they have a tournament with people from other universes, and...
Well, yeah, because everyone knows the best part of any anime is the tournament arc.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's been a thing for Dragon Ball since the beginning. So, you know, it was a cool idea for them to go back to that. I mean, they do it twice. So they must have, you know... Because at first it's just, like, one universe and the other universe, and it's, like, the God of Destruction and his his brother is the god of destruction of the other universe, and he's like, our universe is stronger than yours, and then it's like, oh, let's have a tournament. And then it's like the big god, the main god of the whole universe, who can just, point at you and say, you don't exist anymore, and, you can't do anything about it, you just don't exist anymore. But he's like, that sounds like fun. Let's have a tournament with all the universes. And the losing universes get destroyed, because why not?
Because, yeah, fuck it. That makes sense.
But, I mean, yeah, they do the power scaling, and, they have to have a reason. Like, it's basically just, bad guy too strong, Goku gets stronger out of his ass.
Yeah.
And
the normal Dragon Ball formula.
And they do that several times during the tournament, too. It's just, like, I mean, at least they build up to, like, the Ultra Instinct thing. Like, they talk about it before, and it's supposed to be, like, this theoretical thing that you can't really make happen. It just kind of has to happen. So,
sure.
I mean, but they don't really explain, like, what it is and why it makes him so strong. Because it's like, the idea is that you just act on instinct. Like, all of your body parts are just acting on their own to, like, fight. And it's like, okay, that's a cool idea. How does that translate to punching out a god?
I like, the way I've kind of heard it described is, like, it's kind of like the opposite in premise to, like, Super Saiyan. Because whereas, like, Super Saiyan, it is, like, power from rage.
Right, yeah.
Ultra Instinct is power from calm control.
Yeah.
Which I think is an interesting, like, direction to take it, and it's an interesting dichotomy, because it is, like, a separate thing, and you can't really combine them, because they are antithetical to each other.
Yeah.
So, like, I like it in premise, but...
Yeah, like, it's a really cool idea, and I like it, and, it makes for a really good dramatic fight, but at the end of the day, it's Goku pulled another Super Saiyan form out of his ass, and, like, oh no, it looks like it might not work, but suddenly it works, and, they beat the guy who was, taking, like, Super Saiyan 12 level punches just a minute ago, but suddenly Goku believes in himself, and it's an anime
and
fight.
Ansem turned into a boat. Wait.
Goku believes in himself, Jiren turns into a boat, and the player mashes X-a-lot.
And sometimes triangle.
Sometimes triangle, yeah. There's Dragon Ball Z Hearts 2. But, I mean, yeah, it really is just, like... Like, it was fun to watch, but not fun to, like, think about afterwards, It's like one of those things where it's like, that was really cool, really awesome to watch.
Very cool spectacle, but, like, the depth is not there.
Yeah, like, very spectacular, but, like, that was not good.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's, like... there's part of me that would, like, love to, like, get involved with, like, the Dragon Ball franchise again. And then there's part of me that's just like, I can't. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, it just keeps going, and it's just kind of the same thing every time. And it's like, yeah, there's new characters, and but it's, like, still, like, beat for beat, kind of, like, the same premise. And I feel like maybe they should have stopped a while ago, or at least, like, I don't know, let Goku die and let someone else be the hero.
Well, I was gonna say they did do that, but then, like, he was back next. Like, he did die at the end of the Cell arc, and
then he was just back for the Buu arc.
Yeah, he was like, "Hey, don't bring me back. I'm gonna stay dead for a while, because all these super powerful assholes, they kind of keep wanting to kill me. So if I'm not there, you guys should be all right for a while."
Yeah.
And then it's like, hey, I get to come back for one day to fight in this tournament and spend some time with my family. Like, oh, there's another super powerful villain guy who, I mean, to be fair, didn't want to kill Goku because probably didn't know about Goku, but
yeah.
It's like, the timing is just,
convenient.
Convenient, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, like, that's part of why like the Cell Saga is like the peak of like the Dragon Ball franchise for me.
There's a lot of people who think like the Boo arc is like nope, it's just, it kind of sucks.
Well, see, like I really like the Boo arc too.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like I don't think the Boo arc is bad. I just think the Cell arc is better.
Yeah,
and like I the fact that like because it was the first time where they were like, oh, there's a beyond Super Saiyan. Like it was before it became a trend.
Right? Yeah.
So it's like hitting Super Saiyan 2 was like this sudden like, oh, whoa, that's unheard of. This is like crazy idea. And
then they even do it, and it's like, oh, we can't do this because it is way too fucking slow, and all the power in the world doesn't matter if you can't fucking hit the other guy.
Yeah. Well,
and then Gohan like actually unlocks like the real Super Saiyan 2.
Yeah, and that was the thing for me, is like the fact that they let Goku die, and they let Gohan, like specifically it was teenage Gohan, like he's still young at this point, and they let Gohan kind of take over as the lead and be like the badass, and that was awesome. And then the Boo Saga happened, and he became the Great Saiyan Man and became a stupid dork.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, it's not, to be fair, it's not an unrealistic or even a terrible direction to take him, because I mean, since Goku died, you can kind of understand that like there's pretty much been world peace since Cell went away. So, we've had like 10 years of no real major threats to the world. So why would Gohan need to, keep training? And, his mother is, of course, always wanting him to be like, no, study.
Yeah. Well, but just the
school,
idea that he's just
job.
like, I'm gonna become a dork and dress like a superhero. Like, it's so dumb.
Yeah.
Like, but... And then, they bring back Goku, and everything is just, Goku has to save the day again.
Gohan doesn't do crap.
Yeah, like...
Gohan's the strongest in the universe, but still doesn't do crap.
Like, it's just such a letdown of, like, after the Cell Saga. Like, that direction they took it in, to just kind of like, oh, we brought back Goku. Goku saves the day again. It's a letdown, right? After you saw like how they could have like pushed that forward in a different direction.
Yeah,
right.
It's the Boo arc has problems for sure, but like I never hated it.
Yeah,
I really liked, especially the fusion, like the introduction of the fusion concept was like that was really cool.
Yeah, fusion's cool. I like that there's like two different ways it works. There's the earring fusion and then like the fusion dance fusion.
Yeah.
And like there were some good memes with the fusion dance.
Yeah, of course.
And like it's one of those things that's just like it's a cool concept, and like you can do cool stuff with that idea. I mean, characters combining is like peak awesome. Right?
Yeah. And they do bring it back in Super too, so it's it's not like it's
thrown away.
Yeah, they just throw it away and never do anything with it again. Like they bring back Vegito, and he kicks absolute ass, but because he's like super powerful, because him and Vegeta and Goku have been like training with a literal fucking god at this point. Like it's like too much power, so the fusion is like way shorter, so they only get like 5 minutes to kick evil Goku's ass. But yeah, it's
yeah. But like
the evil Goku arc was really good, actually. Like I was a little bit annoyed at the start of it because basically the story is Trunks' timeline is in trouble again, and he has to go back in time and get Goku's help again. So it's like they're doing this again, like fucking.
That doesn't even make sense,
right? But they bring the time travel and all of that into it, and it's like, yeah, there's actually like a few different timelines right now. I mean, technically, there's like thousands and thousands and thousands of timelines that you can trace back to various points in the story.
Sure.
Like, I actually watched a video about that, and it was like, oh, that's interesting. It's like, so Dragon Ball Super says there's like 5 major timelines, but according to this video, there's technically like 12,000 because of like apparently like one character in the manga did like some time travel shenanigans and kept like causing timelines to split or something. I don't remember what it was, but
see,
yeah, but like,
this is why you have to be careful with time travel. It's
yeah,
it's a slippery slope.
The arc does get good though, like it starts off with like, really, they're doing fucking future Trunks again, but then it's like, oh, okay, why is Goku evil in this timeline? Why is he alive in this timeline? Because he definitely died in Trunks' timeline. That was the whole reason there's a Trunks timeline.
Right.
And yeah, when they finally explain all that, it's like, oh, okay, that's an interesting idea. So, and yeah, they actually have to deal eventually with an actual immortal villain, because yeah, that was a thing, and an invincible villain, because I mean, I don't know, like, without spoiling like too much of it, but yeah, basically like the main villain of that arc uses the Dragon Balls to get invincibility for him, and there's another main villain who gets immortality. Well, one of them was already immortal, so the other one gets invincibility, but they fuse together to be like super powerful. And
Invincimmortal.
Yeah, so they have to figure out how to kill an invincible, immortal villain who is literally like unkillable. And they do kind of figure it out. Like, they destroy his body, but in a really interesting twist, a genuinely interesting twist, I think. Like, it's not sarcastic or anything. He basically like dissolves into the fabric of the universe and becomes the universe.
Okay.
So he is like, it is impossible to kill him. He is basically like complete god of the universe now. And the only way they actually get rid of him is to have the big god of the whole multiverse just snap the timeline out of existence.
Well,
like, Trunks' timeline, whole timeline, no longer exists. That was the only way they could kill this villain. This has gotten
out of control. Let's get rid of this.
Yeah, that's literally what happens. Like there's a minor plot point where Goku basically gets a button from this god who's like, because the god's like a little kid, and of course he's friends with Goku because Goku's also a little kid, mentally.
Yeah.
So yeah, he and Goku become friends, and he's like, "Here, take this button. You can use this to talk to me whenever you want." And Goku's like, we kind of made an immortal villain have control of this timeline. Can you
we made an oopsie.
Yeah,
we let this guy become immortal and invincible.
Yeah, so the only way they can actually kill this villain is to just completely wipe out that entire timeline. So I thought that was really cool and a really good way to deal with that villain.
Yeah, no, it's...
I think it's pretty much universally accepted that that's the best arc of the series.
Yeah.
And yeah.
It's definitely a bit Deus Ex Machina, like almost literally.
No, it is literally. There is no almost about it. They literally have to have a god come in and fix the problem.
Yeah. But it sounds like it was executed well.
Yeah, it was. Like, aside from the rocky start of them like reusing the future Trunks plot point, like that was the major complaint I had about that. And you know, there's no, and the Super Saiyan Pink idea, like.
What's the opposite of Super Saiyan Blue? Super Saiyan Pink.
There was no reason for it. It was kind of dumb. It further escalates an existing problem. So yeah, I mean, they could have just had him be incredibly powerful because, you know, of the circumstances for why he exists. So, yeah. And then, yeah, they just had to be like, yeah, new Super Saiyan form. Why not? Like, what the fuck do you mean, why not? Because
that's what they do now. It just became the Super Saiyan show. That's actually, like, my biggest, like, complaint about, like, original Dragon Ball versus Dragon Ball Z is, like, original Dragon Ball had all these, like, interesting characters that, like, all had their own arcs, and, like, they were all, like, yeah, Goku was, like, the strongest one because he's an alien monkey boy.
Which we don't even know at that point.
Yeah, like, we kind of know, but, like, we don't know he's an alien. But we know he's a weird monkey boy.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But it's... I don't even know if Akira Toriyama knew he was an alien at that point.
Yeah. it's not been like fully established, the whole idea of Saiyans. But like, then you come to Dragon Ball Z, and just everything is about Saiyans, and like all those other characters are just kind of brushed aside.
Yeah, and it's just. It's all about the power levels. It's like,
and
wow, your power level is like 15,000. That's insane. You're the strongest in the universe. Oh, this guy's power level is 40,000. Oh, Frieza's over 1,000,000 in his final form. Okay, where do we go from here? It's like, well, we have these androids.
Bigger.
And they're kicking Super Saiyan Vegeta's ass, so they must be stronger than him. And if Super Saiyan Goku was stronger than Frieza, that means these androids are stronger than Frieza, so...
I'm getting here is Frieza was this, like, tyrannical warlord who was, like, conquering planets and causing all this problem, and he's a basic bitch. And everyone else is stronger than him.
I mean, some old guy in a lab can make these two androids that are stronger than a Super Saiyan, which he didn't even know existed at the time. He just wanted to kill Goku. So, like, I don't know, make these incredibly super, insanely, unbelievably powerful androids. And, like,
overly sarcastic
I guess,
Productions has a good video on.
If you want to kill Goku, you have to go all out, and I guess. Dr. Gero went all fucking out.
I was just gonna say, like, OSP has this really good video about, like, the first time Goku goes Super Saiyan. And, like, the narrative impact that first time specifically has, and, like, how much of a big deal it is.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, kind of lightly touches on how, like, after the Frieza arc, it's kind of diminished by everything else. But if you just watch up to, like, that point, like, it's, like, this huge deal.
Yeah.
Very good video.
Yeah, and you totally get, like, when Vegeta is really pissed off at Kid Trunks for... When he finds out, it's like, oh, you can go Super Saiyan? Can Goku's kid turn Super Saiyan? Yeah. What the fuck?
Why are all y'all Super Saiyans? Yeah. Like literally everyone's a Super Saiyan.
I'm totally with you, Vegeta, in that case. Like, not everybody needs to be a fucking Super Saiyan.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a big deal when Gohan got to be Super Saiyan. And I guess it was kind of a big deal when Vegeta got it too, but I mean, because it was supposed to be a big deal when anybody became a Super Saiyan.
Yeah.
And then it's like, Goten, you're a Super Saiyan. Trunks, you're a Super Saiyan. I mean, I guess it makes sense for Trunks a little bit because he was a Super Saiyan in the future, but he didn't become a Super Saiyan at, like, 12.
Yeah.
Like, they had a whole, like, side movie about him finally figuring it out, and it took Gohan dying.
Yeah, no, it's Dragon Ball Z. It's silly, it's over the top, you don't go for the nuanced writing, you go for the cool fight scenes,
exactly.
Right? Like that's what you go to that franchise for.
I mean, it's
why it's been enduring over all these years.
It's enhanced by when it has those moments of, good writing and storytelling and interesting character development and all that, but
and legitimately horrifying villains.
Yeah.
That's also probably why Cell sticks with me so much.
Yeah, and that's definitely why, like, he's my favorite villain. Like, he's probably the closest, like, I've ever been to, like, traumatized by something I saw as a kid. Like, I wouldn't say I fully got there, but, like, that, if anything was going to traumatize me, it would have been Cell. Like, fucking sucking people up with a stinger tail. Like,
I got exposed to a lot of, like, horror movies at a very young age, and those definitely fucked me up for a while. The Fly, when I was like 7.
Okay.
The original It, around that same time frame when I was like 7 or 8.
I've never.
Aliens.
Alien and Aliens, yeah.
Like, I saw, like, all of those when I was like single digits.
Okay.
So, like,
I didn't...
that shit kind of fucked with me. That's That's my own special hell.
I didn't start getting into those until I was like, I mean, I was still young, but I was like probably like 11 or 12. When I saw like Aliens and The Thing.
It's why for a long time I avoided the horror genre.
I never saw The Fly until like recently, like just a few months ago, actually. Just
oh, that's funny.
Yeah, just it might have actually been October, and that was why I wanted to watch a horror movie. But yeah, that was the first time I'd actually seen it. Like I'd seen the original, like the black and white, like I don't know, 50s or 60s or whatever.
Sure, I've never seen that one, but
it's cheesy, but you know.
Yeah, of course it is. It's in black and white.
I mean, it was scary for like, I don't know, I was probably like 10 or something when I saw that version of it, but I mean, it didn't have like good special effects, but it was the idea that was scary, because like it wasn't like the remake just goes off in a completely different direction. So I mean, the original, it's just guy's head basically gets swapped with the flies. So there's the guy with the fly head, and then there's a fly flying around with his head on it, and at the end of it, he gets caught in a spider web, and there's this giant fucking spider coming to eat him, and eventually, like, someone just, like, crushes the whole thing with a rock, because by that point, the human version was already dead, because he, like, commits suicide or something. But, yeah, it was, like, really, like, for a kid to see that, like,
yeah,
like, you know, it's just like a special effect and all that, but like the idea of like being caught in a spider web and like this giant fucking spider's coming to like literally eat you. It's like,
I'm already arachnophobic enough. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I've never been like fully arachnophobic, but I've always been like uncomfortable with spiders. Like
spiders are squeezy.
Yeah, I don't know. They
squig me out, man.
Yeah, they can. They're not fun. Like, I would not voluntarily interact with one, but I wouldn't say I'm like full arachnophobic. I just don't like them.
I have a rule about spiders, because they are helpful to have around. They take care of other like pests and stuff. So my rule with spiders is you are allowed to live in my space as long as I don't see you. The moment I see you, you die.
Okay, well,
that's my rule with spiders. If I see it, it has to die. If it's too big, I stay very far away from it.
I have a similar rule, except it's not death if I see you. I catch it in something and put it outside.
No, outside is too close.
Unless I've identified it as being like a dangerous one, like a black widow, then it dies.
There was this, it was, I think last summer, there was this like huge spider out on like the back porch. Like, I saw it by the door one day, and I realized that it kind of like lived up in like the rafters on our porch there, and like I could see where it would sit at night, and then like I would check to see if it was still there, and that thing was fucking huge. Like, the thing was like this big, and I was like, jeez. I did not go outside that door until I did not see that spider there, which was like when winter came. Wow. I would not go out the back door. I was like, nope, nowhere near it. So outside, too close, it has to die. It was like too big for me to reasonably like try to kill it, because like, yeah, I could go out there with like a broom handle and try to like squish it with the broom handle, but if I miss and it starts crawling down the broom handle towards me, fuck that. I'm out. I don't do well with spiders.
Yeah, like they are not fun to deal with, but yeah, no, just
but
you do your thing, I'll do mine. Just stay the fuck away from me and don't let me see you in my general vicinity.
Yeah. Every once in a while, I'll see one like over here by my desk, and that always squeaks me out. The worst, it was actually when my desk was over by the door to the room. There was a day where I was sitting at my computer and I was doing something, and like I felt something on my leg, and I go down like this, and like I do like a grabbing motion, and I feel like something squish inside my pant leg.
Oh, fuck.
And like it had crawled up the inside of my sweats, and like I basically spent like the next week at my desk, like with my feet up in my chair, like because it was crawling up my leg inside my pants. I was like, nope.
Ugh.
So like I kind of always live in fear of that happening, like now that I'm over here, because like I'm closer to the garage door, and like I see them over here by the circuit breaker sometimes on like the wall, and if I see them, they die. That's it. If I see you, I kill you. But every once in a while, they because it's kind of hard to get them back there, so they'll sneak away. And no, I do not do well with spiders. They are not okay.
Yeah, that's totally fair and all.
But other stuff is fine. I don't mind if like a moth gets in the room. I don't mind moths.
They're just annoying.
Yeah. They're kind of cute, though.
Yeah, they're not like a threat or anything. They're just... It annoys me when they like fly into something and keep making noise. I'm like, shut the fuck up. Get out of here. Go away. Shoo.
There was one summer where there was a moth in here that would just hang out on like the wall up by the window. And we ended up catching him and letting him outside because Aerith was like would like watch him and was like wanted to get at him, and we're like, okay, she's gonna cause chaos, and like we can't let the moth die. But we had named the moth.
Oh.
We're like, no, Aerith, you can't eat Henry.
Oh God.
I hope Henry's okay. I actually have a theory that Henry might have been this like caterpillar that we found, because there was this caterpillar that like I forget why, but we found it and like it ended up inside the room, right? And I have there was like a little like wooden thing that I had, like it was something that I made just randomly out of like bits of popsicle sticks and stuff that I had, but it's like one of those things that just sits around the room. So like we had put it in that. We had put like a plastic like over it, and then like kind of wrapped it with a rubber band, and like the edges are like these bamboo skewers that have like the I would best describe the way they look as like a Halo energy sword. So it's just like two like little blades sticking up. Right. So like that was like the walls of this like little like wooden cage thing, but it's a very thin little gap. But there was a point where like looked at it and the caterpillar was gone. And there's a part of us that's like, did that caterpillar turn into the moth that we then named Henry? Because this moth just suddenly showed up in our room at one point and was hanging out on the walls.
If the timing works, it very well could have been. Huh?
Yeah, so it could have been Henry. Henry could have been the caterpillar. We don't know. But yeah, there was just a point where it's like it was still covered. Like the rubber band was still holding the plastic in place. So there was just like the tiny little gaps. And it's like, how did it get out? What happened? Where'd it go?
It will forever be a mystery.
Probably. But yeah. But yeah, I think we're probably about long enough on this one.
Yeah, probably.
We had a strangely long conversation about Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
Wasn't expecting that.
Funny how that happens.
That was not on my SpellCast bingo card.
End up on, random tangents. That's what this podcast is all about.
Random tangents.
I mean, that's why we started it.
Yeah.
Because we would have conversations that just go on. It's like, how did we end up talking about this thing? It's like, well, we were talking about this, and then we went on to that, and then I mentioned this offhandedly, and you were like, "Oh yeah, I was this and that, and then and then it just ends up completely off the rails, and that's
yep.
And it's like we should do a podcast where we do that for like an hour or so,
ramble, yeah. But
That is literally why we had the idea to do a podcast.
I enjoy doing these. I want to do these more. I want to record games more. Hopefully things stick out and we're able to be consistent on recording again.
We have a plan. And we're hoping we'll be able to do it. So
yep, it's on my Google Calendar, so I make sure to keep those days open. So hopefully we'll stick to it. But well, yeah,
it's probably not going to be back to an episode every single day, because the plan we have scheduled in place right now is we will be recording every other week. So
maybe uploads on Mondays and Fridays.
Yeah, I could do or something like that.
Yeah.
Spellcast on Wednesdays, regular episodes on Monday and Friday. That could work, depending on how much we actually
are able to
get in. Normally, an hour of recording would be 2 episodes, depending.
Yeah.
Well, we've pretty much just gone to 30-minute episodes by this point, haven't we? Because
pretty much.
We used to do 15.
Yeah.
And then for longer ones, for longer games, we'd be we'll do 30 minutes for that, because just get more done in an episode. And
yeah. I
think just ended up
20 to 30 is probably a good thing to aim for.
Yeah, so we've just been doing 30-minute episodes for everything. And that ended up having us finish Portal in 3 episodes. So we only have 3 episodes to go up this week that you're listening to it, next week from when we're recording it. But
yeah, I think that's fine.
Yeah, that'll be fine for.
We can do a little more recording with whatever we do next time, which we'll figure out.
We'll just gradually work our way back into the routine, and hopefully it becomes a routine. And...
Yeah. But
yeah,
thank you for listening, and we will have more rambling about random topics hopefully again soon.
Probably not next week, but the week after next, I think. Well, yeah, no. Well, no, because... No, wait, we will be able to record next week, huh? Because this week was weird because we had to cancel D&D. We were going to do recordings on... Because we do D&D every other week, so we were like, why don't we just do recordings on the days we don't do D&D? But we had to cancel D&D this week, so we're recording instead, and...
Which makes up for the fact that we weren't able to record last week.
Right, so
it all kind of works out.
And then we'll be able to do it again next week, so there should be another Spellcast then, too, so...
Hopefully.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see how this all goes. But until then...
We're trying to get a more consistent schedule, and we're already starting off with it being kind of weird.
Yeah.
But weird in a good way, because we'll be able to record more stuff rather than less stuff, which is usually what happens when the schedule goes weird.
Right. All right.
Anyway, thanks for listening if you've been with us this whole time. We'll see you next time, whenever that ends up being. Hopefully sooner rather than later.